Hello and welcome to With Wellmer Anderson. This is a channel where we talk about economic, political, and business type things in simple terms. Today we're going to talk about gentrification. Gentrification is a worldwide thing. We start by defining, well, what is gentrification? Gentrification is the replacement of a poor class people with a more wealthier class people. The term was coined by a lady named Ruth Glass in London in 1964, where she was doing analysis on neighborhoods in London to see whether or not they need to be invested in. The word gentry is an old term that was, I think it's an old French term, which is used to explain the difference between the working class people and the upper class people. The gentry was sort of in the middle of those two. Now, in the United States, we had some projects that did some major gentrification. It really started over the New Deal back in the Roosevelt administration with the Federal Housing Act in 1934 and 1935. In New York City, they built one of the first housing projects called the Alfred E. Smith Housing Project. When the Great Depression came, one thing people don't understand is before the Great Depression, the United States really didn't make a big investment in housing. Matter of fact, the way mortgages were handled before the Great Depression, the way mortgages are handled now are differently. Before the Great Depression, mortgages were paid off in 5 to 10 years. There were no 30-year mortgages. Later on, the Truman administration got involved in 1949 with urban renewal, slum clearance, and they built about 800,000 project homes in the United States. The Federal Housing Defense Act came in 1956-57. It had over 42,000 miles of highways, destroyed a lot of neighborhoods. It was done for national defense. What happened was President Eisenhower, when he was in the service back during World War I, he took a road trip from the East Coast to the West Coast, and it took him 100 days. So he recognized when he became president the importance of highways, and the gentrification just came along with that. Then the GI Bill came. There was VA housing loans that was somewhat discriminatory. There was redlining. There was Jim Crow, and there was something called restricted covenants, where if you sold your house with certain requirements you had to meet in order to sell that. That was used to discriminate against minorities. In 1970, the support was drawn from the cities. President Nixon cut a great deal of resource to the cities, and President Reagan did as well. But one thing I do remember, being a New Yorker and a Bronx fan, a Yankee fan, I do remember watching television in 1977 and watching Howard Cosell talk about the Bronx burning, and they panned to it and you could see so many houses being burnt down. So, also, I do remember also when Gerald Ford told the city, New York City, to drop dead. So the cities really needed to come up with some type of revenue. Okay. They needed new ratables. If they didn't do it, they had to lay off people. The infrastructure fell, and the resources were no longer around with the city, to the city. So what's good about gentrification? Well, you get higher values for your home. The ratables increase. You do get a tax revenue. The crime rates get lower, better schools, you get slum removal, you get a lot of jobs, and you have a lot more of an environmental clean area. What's bad about gentrification is the obvious: higher property values, which could be a negative, higher rents, displacement, higher crime, bad education, low services. You also can create food and pharmacy deserts. There's typically very low affordable housing, and at least there's urban blight and poor infrastructure. As I said, the problem of gentrification is not an American phenomenon. It was at least, I would say, codified in London by Ruth Glass, such as the Tower Hamlet, Southwark, and Fulham in London are gentrified. It's actually called New York style gentrification in London. In Paris, there are Airbnbs. The Arabs, a lot of blacks and Asians are being gentrified out of their neighborhoods. in Sao Paulo, Brazil, which is the largest city financially in the southern part of the United States. 40% of the people live below standards. It's such a wealthy city, and yet there's being tremendous gentrification being done there. Even in Melbourne, Australia, there is gentrification done in Altona, and even if you look at Box Hill, a lot of the rich Chinese are coming in, buying up a lot of land, forcing these people out. I'd like to thank you very much for watching the video. Please give me a thumbs up. Also subscribe. Have a great day. Bye.